In today's video lesson, I shall be taking up the line-by-line explanation of the page numbers 32, 33 and 34 of the chapter The Enemy by Pearl S. Buck. Children, listen to the explanation carefully, and if you have not gone through the previous video lectures, kindly refer to those videos for a better understanding of today's lesson. Now we had read, children, that Sadao and Hannah, they carried the wounded man inside their house, and he was made to rest on the mat inside Sadao's father's room. Now Sadao's father, he was no more, he had passed away, and that room, it was lying vacant. So they had put him on the mat, and that mat, it got dirty. Now let's see what is the reaction of Hannah and Sadao. "Oh, the mat," she cried. "Yes, it is ruined," Sadao replied, as though he did not care. "Help me to turn him," he commanded her. Now Sadao, he was all engrossed in his work as a surgeon, and he did not care at all about the mat. He commanded his wife Hannah to turn the prisoner. She obeyed him without a word, and he began to wash the man's back carefully. Now the bullet mark, it was there on the back of the man. "Yumi would not wash him," she said. "Did you wash him then?" Sadao asked, not stopping for a moment his swift, concise movements. So Hannah had to tell Sadao that Yumi, she had refused to wash the man. So of course, who had washed him? Who had cleaned him? It was Hannah. The same question Sadao asked Hannah, but then he did not stop for a moment his swift, concise movements. Concise means, children, little by little or in short strokes. So he was dealing with the wound, and very swiftly and concisely his hands were at work. "Did you wash him then?" So she said, "Yes," she said. He did not seem to hear her, but she was used to this absorption when he was at work. He did answer her, but then he did not seem to hear what answer the wife gave. And Hannah, she was used to this absorption of the doctor, of her husband at work. She was used to this. Let's read what happens next. Children, listen to the explanation very carefully. She wondered for a moment if it mattered to him what was the body upon which he worked so long as it was for the work he did so excellently. Now sometimes Hannah used to think, does it really matter to my husband whom he is operating upon? It really does not matter. He is so engrossed in his work, and he is so, he is so obedient towards his duty that it hardly matters to him who is there lying in front of him. "You will have to give the anesthetic if he needs it," he said. Now, she was all lost in her thoughts when suddenly there was another instruction given by her husband. And what was it? That she had to give the anesthetic. Anesthetic, I hope, children, you all understand what is anesthetic. To make him unconscious so that the operation could be performed. She repeated blankly, "but never have I." Now, she was reluctant because she said that I have never done it before. How could I do it? "It is easy enough," he said impatiently. He was taking out the packing now, and the blood began to flow more quickly. He peered into the wound with the bright surgeon's light fastened on his forehead. Children, you can see in the picture, the surgeon's light, it is fastened on his forehead, and he looked very closely as if, trying to see deep inside the wound. And he was peering inside the wound with that headlight on. "The bullet is still there," he said with cool interest. Now it was interesting. He said, the bullet is still there. I need to take it out. Now, I wonder how deep this rock wound is. If it is not too deep, it may be that I can get the bullet. Now, if what would have happened, children, if the rock, the pointed part of the rock, if it had thrust, it could have been that the rock, the pointed portion of the rock had thrust the bullet much inside the flesh, right? So he said that I first have to examine how deep this wound is. And if it is not very deep, then I can easily take out the bullet. But the bleeding is not superficial. But then he said from his experience that the bleeding, it is not superficial. It is quite deep. He has lost much blood. This is the last line that he is saying, the conclusion that he has drawn, that he has gone very weak. He has lost a lot of blood. And the bleeding is not superficial. So this is what he had, a conclusion that he had reached at after examining the wound. At this moment, Hannah choked. He looked up and saw her face the color of sulfur. Now for Hannah, children, this blood, this deep wound, all this was something she was seeing for the very first time. And she choked. She felt like puking, vomiting. The husband, he noticed her face that it had gone off-white. She appeared to be very pale, very dull, very colorless. Don't faint, he said sharply. He did not put down his exploring instrument. If I stop now, the man will surely die. She clapped her hands to her mouth and leaped up and ran out of the room. Don't faint. He's saying that please be there. Don't faint. If I stop attending this man now, he will surely die. So what did Hannah do? She just put her hands over her mouth and she jumped and ran out of the room. Why? Outside in the garden, he heard her retching. Children, retching means, to puke or to vomit. She was vomiting outside in the garden, but he went on with his work. But he could not leave the American soldier and go to his wife. No, he could not do that. So he kept on working on the wound of the soldier. It will be better for her to empty her stomach, he thought. He had forgotten that, of course, she had never seen an operation. But her distress and his inability to go to her at once made him impatient. Please underline, children. At one side, he thought that it's better if she empties her stomach because, yes, I do understand. She has never seen an operation in her life. But her distress. The wife was troubled and the husband was unable to attend her. This made him impatient and irritable. And he was getting very angry with this man who lay like dead under his knife. He was unconscious, right? He was lying there. He did not know what was being done to him. So he lay like dead under his knife. And the doctor, he was feeling very impatient, and at the same time, he had got highly irritated with what was happening. He was unable to attend his wife who was vomiting outside. This man, he thought, there is no reason under heaven why he should live. Now, Sadao, he was highly irritated. He could not attend his wife who was feeling sick because of this soldier, the wounded soldier. She was vomiting outside. And at the same time, he was questioning himself that I don't know why am I saving his life. He is my enemy after all. So why is it that I'm trying to save his life? Unconsciously, this thought made him ruthless and he proceeded swiftly. Now, this question was coming again and again into his mind, and unable to find an answer, he was getting all the more irritated from inside. And he appeared to be ruthless. Ruthless means, children, having no mercy, showing no mercy towards this wounded man. So he was appearing to be merciless, and he was working swiftly with the knife with his fingers. In his dream, the man moaned, but Sadao paid no heed except to mutter at him. Now, the man, he was moaning. Moaned means, children, cry in pain. When somebody is in pain, the cry that they give, it is known as moaning. But Sadao, he paid no heed, no attention, except to mutter at him. He just said something which was not very clear. Groan, he muttered. Groan if you like. I am not doing this for my own pleasure. In fact, I do not know why I am doing it. He said that you groan. I hardly care about this. I don't know why am I doing it. I am not doing it for my own pleasure. The door opened and there was Hannah again. The door and Hannah again entered. Where is the anesthetic? She asked me in a clear voice. So Hannah was there again by the side of her husband and she asked for the anesthetic, all ready to administer it on the wounded soldier. Sadao mentioned with his chin, it is as well that you came back, he said, this fellow is beginning to stir. So he said that it's good that you have come back. This man, the fellow is beginning to stir, he is moving. She had the bottle and some cotton in her hand, but how shall I do it? She asked again the question. I have not done it before. How should I do it? Simply saturate the cotton, means make the cotton completely wet with this anesthetic and hold it near his nostrils. Sadao replied without delaying for one moment the intricate details of his work. So he told her how it is supposed to be done. When he is breathless, breathes badly, move it away a little. And the moment you see that he is breathing badly, just remove the cotton from under his nose. So this is how you need to do it. Delaying for one moment the intricate detail of his work means he was engrossed completely in his work. For a moment, he left that. Intricate means quite detailed, something which is very detailed. So he left that work which he was doing and he instructed his wife. So let's read what happens next. She crouched close to the sleeping face of the young American. It was a piteously thin face. Piteously means, children, it was affecting her. She could see that he was in pain. There was an expression of discomfort on his face. Why? Because his lips were twisted. And she took pity on this appearance of the soldier. The man was suffering, whether he knew it or not. Watching him, she wondered if the stories they heard sometimes of the sufferings of prisoners were true. Now, children, these prisoners of war, they have to undergo a lot of torture because, secrets are extracted from them in this manner. They came like flickers of rumor told by word of mouth. So she just had heard it through word of mouth, and that too very faint rumors that they undergo a lot of torture. Of course, nobody knows the bitter truth behind it. Told by word of mouth and always contradicted. Always contradicted means some people said that no, all this is nonsense. It's not true. In the newspapers, the reports were always that wherever the Japanese armies went, the people received them gladly. Now, she had always heard news of all the news that she had heard about the Japanese armies. It was related to people praising them with cries of joys at their liberation. But sometimes she remembered such men as General Takima, children, the General Takima, who used to beat his wife cruelly. Now, he was a very cruel man who used to beat his wife, though no one mentioned it now that he had fought so victorious a battle in Manchuria. Now, nobody remembers that he was a man who used to beat his wife. Why? Because he had gained a victory against Manchuria. Okay, so everybody forgot about this side, the cruel side of General Takima. They were all praises for him. Why? Because he had won the battle of Manchuria. If a man like that would be so cruel to a woman in his power, would he not be cruel to one like this, for instance? Now she says, if this man can be so cruel towards his own wife, then don't you think he will be very cruel towards these prisoners of war? Of course. So how can the news received of torture and of exploitation of the prisoners of war not be true? So she's questioning herself. So what do you think, children? She is taking pity on that American soldier who was so badly wounded. She hoped anxiously that this young man had not been tortured. It was at this moment that she observed deep red scars on his neck, just under the ear. Now, because she was attending the wounded man, because she had washed him with her own hands, and now she had also given him the anesthetic, children, she had developed a soft corner for this American soldier inside her heart, and she only wished that this young man should not be tortured. And it was at this moment that she observed the other wound marks, scars on his neck and under the ear. Those scars, she murmured, lifting her eyes to Sadao. But he did not answer. Why? Because he was all engrossed in his work. At this moment, he felt the tip of his instrument, the knife that he was working with, children, it collided with something, right? It could feel the tip of his instrument strike against something hard, dangerously near the kidney. All thought left him. So what thought must have come to him? Oh, I've got the bullet. He felt only the purest pleasure that, yes, I have found it. He probed with his fingers. What do you mean by probed, children? He, inspected it or examined it with his finger, delicately, familiar with every atom of this human body. Why? He was an accomplished surgeon, children, and he was very familiar with each and every part of the human body. His old American professor of anatomy had seen to that knowledge that, it's said that half knowledge is dangerous. So he had studied this anatomy quite well and was an accomplished surgeon. Ignorance of the human body is the surgeon's cardinal sin. So what he said, the professor used to say that if you don't have the information of a single atom of the human body, it's like the greatest sin. You are attending the man without any knowledge. So it's like a murder. He had thundered at his class year after year to operate without as complete knowledge of the body as if you had made it anything less than that is murder. So he says that if you are picking up the knife and if you are going to operate a man, don't do it until and unless you have complete knowledge of the human body. Because if you will attend him with half knowledge, it will not be less than any murder. So this message had totally sinked inside Dr. Sadao, and hence he was an accomplished surgeon. Very careful about his work, and he used to perform his surgeries with perfection. So children, I'll stop my explanation here. Please go through this explanation once again. Thank you, class.